was the initial idea for the movie, and what artistic vision you wanted to express?
Well, when I think it first occurred to me I wanted to make a Western a while ago. I mean, the ideas sort of take a while to germinate, and you're working on other things and they become stories. But my grandfather was a major influence in my life, and he loved Westerns. He loved Western novels, and a lot of my uncles did as well. And I wanted to initially write a movie that would just honor what my grandfather would have liked. And then later it obviously became, you know, more of a story. I have, you know, the movie's about an older brother and a younger brother who are left alone, and the older brother's taken away. And I just remember I have two sons of my own that were roughly the same distance in age. And I wondered, found myself wondering one day what would happen if my wife and I were taken away and they were left on their own, and how would they survive, and could they make it? And the idea for the rest of the movie sort of came from there. I just started thinking of characters I wanted to create, and the characters usually tell you where the story goes.
So you started filming in 2021, and of course the fatal incident happened. Can you tell us a bit more about the journey that you had to went through? Because at the beginning you didn't really wanted to finish the movie. It took you some time to, you know, to process, to, you know, go through everything what happened. So can you share with us a little bit more of the journey that you needed to take?
Yeah, you know, after everything that happened, and in the months that followed, everything was very, very difficult. And not to say that it isn't anymore, but it gets a little less so with time. But within that first year, I would hear that maybe they were considering trying to finish the movie, and I would be asked, is it something I'd be willing to have a conversation about? And initially I wasn't willing to have a conversation about it. It was just something I wasn't interested in. I honestly didn't know if I was even ever gonna make movies again at all, if I wanted to do it anymore. And then gradually I began to hear that this is what the family wanted, this is what her husband wanted, and it was important to them that her work be finished and that it be shared with the world, so that the people who knew her and loved her could see her final work, and the people who didn't know her could meet her through her final work. And once I started to think about that, what had been sort of the most difficult decision in my life started to become a much easier decision, because what the family wants was what mattered most to me. And I knew that finishing the film was going to benefit the family, and at a certain point the decision became very obvious to me. I didn't know that whether it would be a popular decision or an unpopular decision. I just knew that it was something that I personally had to do. I had to see through what she and I began together. I felt like had it been the other way around, she would have done it for me.
So biancacline decided to replace Halyna on Rust. Can you share with us about the process, you know, to keep her memory and keep her artistic vision to the movie, but at the same time, you know, finish the process, right?
Yeah, you know, we were incredibly lucky that Bianca wanted to come and not only finish but extend Halyna's work in a way. So, you know, when Halyna and I had worked together in my previous films, I had been very strict in how I wanted them to look visually. I would storyboard everything out. I would be very exacting in every last detail. And then I found that not satisfying anymore as a working relationship. And so Halyna and I, it was the first time I ever had a working relationship with a cinematographer where it was just very open and free. It was, let's figure this out as a true partnership together, and we did that. And so then when Bianca came on board, we did that very same thing, but then Bianca also had to learn everything that Halyna had done. And so she watched, you know, every frame of what we shot before. She watched all of Halyna's old movies.
And it took her 3 days to make this decision, right?
Yeah, you know, she had heard that from a friend, a mutual friend, that we were going to be starting up again. And so I think she thought about it a good long while, and then reached out to me directly with a very long text that was very emotional, and it took me actually a day or two to sort of process it. And then I reached back out to her, and I thought, yeah, she's the person that makes the most sense in the world to finish this. She was, you know, when I had interviewed cinematographers originally, she was one that I was very close to choosing, Bianca. I mean, there was not a lot of space between them, between all the people that I really liked. And so it made all the sense in the world for me for Bianca to come. There were people that we knew in common. It was very important to her for personal reasons. I knew she was extremely talented. And so, yeah, it was, we picked up sort of where Halyna and I had left off. And we continued that work. I always like to say that it's like Halyna and Bianca danced a duet together, but they danced it a year and a half apart and half the country apart. But it's like they were dancing together.
And what was the biggest challenge for Blanca to, you know, stay true to it after that?
Well, I think, you know, what she wanted to, it's not about really mimicking Halyna's style or what we had that came before. It's just about what we're doing now, making sense with all that and having visual commonality with it and the lighting being very similar style. And fortunately, it was, you know, a style that I was already very comfortable working in, so she had me as a resource there. But, you know, I think just in studying very meticulously everything that had gone on before, and when there were, for instance, we had scenes where we had shot maybe part of it in New Mexico, but still owed part of it to shoot in Montana with the second shoot, we would make that match very meticulously, recreate sets, recreate lighting setups, things like that. And then we had a few instances, unfortunately, where we had actors that did not return for the second time. And so we had to get very creative there. We would say, well, we love this shot that Halyna came up with, but it has the wrong person in it now. So we're going to digitally replace that person's head with the new actor. And I think we've done it in a very seamless way. There was a lot of, you know, movies are a magic trick in the first place. This one was a real big magic trick.
Yeah, definitely, especially here at Camerimage, Energa Camerimage Festival, when, you know, people on the market are discussing all this technical stuff and ideas, how to help improve the industry. But the movie premiered here in Toruń at Energa Camerimage Festival, and there's both different opinions about the premiere. What's your take on that?
You know, it's easy for me to speak about my point of view because I lived through it. And I don't want to minimize or negate other people's points of view that are in the camera community and felt a very specific way about it. There have been people who felt that we should not have finished the movie. There have been people who felt very strongly that we should. They're both right. There is no wrong answer there. To me, it's just about what did I feel that I had to do. And to anyone that would take issue with that, I would tell them that I understand. I would hope you'd hear me out. And even if you still disagree with me, that's wonderful, but I would appreciate you hearing me out. I think, and that's been the experience that I've had so far.
There's also going to be a panel discussion about the safety on sets and women on sets. Do you think it's necessary to open up the question again and hear different voices, people from different parts of the world, right? Especially that we are here on eastern part of Europe, and we're not maybe creating so many Western movies, but in general, of course. Do you think this discussion can help to improve this part?
Yeah, look, you know, safety is the most important thing in any workplace. And you know, anyone should have the expectation that they show up for work and then get to go home at night. And they should get to go home at night uninjured. So I think any discussion about set safety is vital. Sets are complicated places. They are moving at 100 miles an hour sometimes. And there are sharp corners and things, and there are dangers on set. And I think tightening regulations and having more designated safety officers that are on set that do not answer to anybody but themselves is vital. I think having dedicated armorers that don't do other jobs is vital. I think, you know, look, we love movies. Movies are art, we live for it. But no movie is worth someone being harmed, much less killed. you know, at the end of the day, I feel like it has opened up discussions about safety. I think they're incredibly important. What I hope happens is that these words get put into action and they don't just end up as words.
I have to also ask you about Bianca, because one of the interviews she said that this might be her last movie. Do you know, is she working on something else?
Yeah,
or do you think it's right even to mention that, you know, this might be her last movie?
I think, you know, what she was talking about was her apprehension initially in, if I do this, will I be blackballed within the business? That, of course, has not happened. I think, you know, within the business, there's a lot of people who have a very clear understanding of, you know, what went on. And I think, you know, she's worked on other features since then. I think, you know, but what I find so admirable about it is that she went in knowing that that was a concern and that could have been the case for her.
Yeah. So the last question about Alec Baldwin. Can you tell us, we know that he's not here at the premiere. I think I hate this question, but I really want to know what's your take on his situation and on the point right now.
You know, I don't want to sound evasive about it. I don't have one. I think, you know, for me, it's about staying positive and moving forward and not letting sort of these things that occurred in the past just take such ownership of me that they sort of rob me of the moment. And I just like to sort of concentrate on what we're doing here and what's to come. You know, I think getting the movie in front of audiences is important. I think getting Halyna's work in front of people is important. And I think I'd like to focus on that.
Joel, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.